Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Welcome back to the Success in Motion podcast. I'm your host, Alex Burho, and today we're joined by Scott Peper. Scott is the founder and CEO of Mobilization Funding, and he likes to describe himself as husband, a father, a Christian, and a patriot. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you having me on the show, man.
Absolutely. So, go ahead, just tell the audience a little bit about what you do and how you got here.
Well, what we do as a company or what I do, it's two different things, but I think you're probably talking about mobilization funding.
Mm-hmm.
Look, at mobilization funding, we are a short-term lender. We are the lender. It's our money, it's our capital. We service the loans and we find and execute with our customers to their best ability of whatever they're trying to accomplish. But where we found our niche is really helping good businesses that are trying to grow, that are trying to execute new work. They're taking on new customers, and we're helping them in that point where traditional financing or private financing isn't available to them, either because of the industry, like construction, or the type of business on how they're paid by their customers, like progress billing, milestone billing, or other type of work in progress. Those are things that traditional financing just doesn't offer an opportunity to serve. And so we found our way in that exact niche. So customers can use us as a loan program and a tool to help them grow, execute the work they have, get done and execute what they're trying to accomplish for their customers, and do it in a way that's efficient and impactful to them and in line with how they are paid by their customer.
I love that. Now, that seems kind of a very niche thing. Tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you come across that? How did you decide that's where you wanted to be?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, like any good thing, I had a phone call one day by some friends. They called, one friend in particular called and said, "Hey, we have this idea and I think it'd be great and you'd be perfect for it because, your father was in construction. I think you understand this really well and you can help us." I'm like, "Okay, cool. What's the idea?" Like, "Look, we want to make loans to commercial construction contractors who are working for performance bonded projects for the government or other big companies." And I was like, "Man, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. That is not a good plan." But like most folks, or at least folks I know, the fear of loss or missing out is a big motivator, and me for sure. And so I was like, "Yeah, for sure, let's do it." And so I wasn't qualified at all to help do this because my dad owned a commercial construction business, but at least it got me the phone call. And so the four of us passed the hat. We made a small loan to a commercial electrical contractor. Of course, like every good idea, it works at its first start. And that's how I got into it. And we started working from there, and we made all kinds of mistakes and tons of different things. But at the end of the day, that is the very beginning. That was the tip of the spear.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us have that, you start something, you make a whole bunch of mistakes, you learn from it, move on. So tell us a little bit about that journey. What did you learn, or what were things that stood out to you of, hey, here's some mistakes I made, here's how I learned and overcame them?
Mm-hmm. Well, the funny part is when I got that opportunity to start, there was one gentleman who had the crux of the idea, and he really was going to execute this full time. And the other three of us were going to help out, chime in, help raise some money because, if you're in a lending world, you actually need money to lend. So we raised some money, and we also put in some money of our own, and all of us kind of started to make one loan at a time. Well, fast forward 6, 7, 8 months, we get into the closer part of that first year. There's a few stories here, but one is who your partner's with really matters. How your partners and what you guys all are going to do and commit to doing also matters. And then the other side of it is what do you learn when it gets tough, when you start to make mistakes? And that's what happened. We started making mistakes. We made a mistake on one loan. And actually the way that happened was one of our customers, unfortunately, got really sick and was not able to perform on the job. And when that happened, the general contractor stopped paying the sub. And once they stopped paying the sub couldn't pay us. And so we learned a lot in that particular issue. That issue then led to a partner problem where the partner that was the main, who's working on it completely full time. He all of a sudden stopped working or tried to hedge and start working for other companies at the same time, which also hurt us. And so what ended up happening was two of us, the main gentleman who was working in the business, basically resigned. And two of us who had at one point raised the majority of the money from either friends or family were now saddled with this situation where we had to go figure it out so we could get our money back. And that's exactly what we did. And through that year-long process where we found these customers, talked to the customers we had, saw what kind of loans they had, and sort of basically unwinding and rewinding what that one partner who resigned had done, we learned the business. And when we got to the end of that year, we realized, you know what, this isn't a bad business at all. This is actually a really good business. It was just really poorly executed on our part. And here's the 3, 4, 5, 10 things that we need to do much, much better. And let's go about actually doing this the right way. And that's when we opened our first office, and he and I found an additional partner that could help us. We got into it more full time. And now the three of us went about actually making this business work. And so it was through that pain and through that problem that we actually learned the business itself and figured out how to engage the niche that we were working on and the customer base, where they needed help, what the actual problem was. And then that experience really gave us the best way to learn how to engage that customer with a product that could work for them. And so that was the real beginning of when we started the business from what it is today.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of really good lessons you learn from that, such as pick your partners wisely and, some other things. If What tips or tricks do you have for someone who's kind of starting out either in entrepreneur world or building a business to kind of avoid some of those pitfalls you guys experienced?
Well, I think the number one thing for me is are you talking about picking partners or if you're already partners and you're going to try to make the journey? Because there's a couple different ones there.
Let's hear whatever your thoughts are. Let's hear
All
both.
right. Well, the first thing I would tell you is if you feel like you need to have a partner, you don't. You have enough in your own self. You need help and you might need other people, but don't think that you need a partner. The partners, if they're bringing talent, money, or things you need that you have identified and understand, then they're great. They're probably a great partner. If it's you and your buddy and you both have the same exact skills and you both do the same exact thing and you want to be partners, just know that's okay, but you're likely going to have to find those other skill sets also. And those are going to have to come in the form of either other partners or employees. And I think I always look at it as talent. You need talent around you, no doubt, but they don't have to come in the form of a partner. They can be an employee, they can be an executive employee, a leader of all kinds. They can be a mentor, a coaching group. You have to find that talent to educate yourself. That's the first thing I would tell you. So you don't need a partner. You might want a partner, but you don't need one. The second thing I would tell you is in business, you really need to go into it with the mentality, in my opinion, of two things. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to find a solution. I'm not going to know everything I need to know right out of the gate. There's no way you will. You just have to have a commitment to learning it. I would also say what I learned from a great mentor of mine, a gentleman named Andy Frisilla. He taught the lesson that, you got to, when you touch the hot stove, don't touch it again. If you can not quit and learn the lessons from the mistakes you make and not repeat them, especially not 3 times. You might repeat a couple of them twice, but don't repeat them 3 times. And you don't quit, you'll be successful to whatever degree you can set yourself out to be. Those are the two real things I would say. If you can keep that mindset going in up front, that'll save you a lot of time because a lot of folks think they need people or you have to know all this stuff, that you have to have this cake like 90% baked before you're actually going to be able to succeed. And that's not really the case. You're going to learn most of this as you go. I think you need to find the education and the tools and continue learning by reading books or finding groups that you can learn from or other people. And I'd be really cautious today about joining certain coaching groups because a lot of people just haven't done anything that they say they're going to do. Their business is just a coaching group that is made up of people that have never done anything, So I would find the person that is out there that's actually doing what you want to do or has already done it and are much farther ahead of you and willing to teach you.
Absolutely. Again, if you can learn from someone who's already done it, you're going to do better than learning from someone who's learning it by you. But Yeah,
Yeah, the books are the key. I mean, if you can find, you just read, man, read and apply, read it and apply it, read it and apply it, and just know that it's going to take a lot of time. Like, the other thought I would say is like, just go into it thinking like, what can I make this 10 years from now?
love that. Have that
That'll keep
long-term
good
view.
perspective. Takes a long time,
Yeah.
especially depending on what your success level is already, what you already know. I mean, if you've already started a business and sold it and exited it, and you spent 10 years doing that and you start up a second business, sure, you're going to skip some time because you've already learned it. But if it's your first endeavor, and if you can frame it like it's going to be 10 years or more and you happen to do it in less time, kudos to you.
That's awesome. I love it. Now, so we've talked about a few challenges you've kind of gone through. What would you say have been some of the things that have come rather easy to you, or what strengths do you see yourself having along this journey?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of experience prior to starting this business in sales. So communication sales, I spent multiple decades in sales, sales management, sales leadership. So that part came a lot easier to me. Now, getting in front of the camera, talking and telling a story, that did not. Despite doing that nonstop all the time in one-on-one presentations or one to some, putting your camera out in front of you and getting on a camera when you're speaking to like on social media or other to the masses, it's a totally different skill set. So mastering that to to do it the same way you would as if you were just having a one-on-one conversation takes a little bit of time. But that was something that came easy to me, and that's not easy to everyone. I would say the other aspects that you got to struggle with, or a great book to read right out of the gate, is called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Reason being is it talks about the entrepreneurial myth, and it really tells you the three or four type of things that you're going to need: operational excellence, the entrepreneur, the dreamer, someone that's going to make it happen and do it. And then you need the technician, the expert in either the service or the product you're going to provide. And if you can get those three things together in your organization from a talent perspective, because they won't all come from you, then you can really start to be more and more successful. I think where a lot of folks struggle, particularly I did, and I think it's pretty common, at least in the customers we serve, is the operational side. When you're a salesperson, you have a lot of optimism, and you're the entrepreneur. It's hard to be the technical, process-driven person. That's not a typical skill set that goes with you. So that was tough for me. And I think it's tough for a lot of our commercial construction contractors or other business owners too. As you start to grow and scale, you can't just muscle your way there anymore. You actually have to build systems and processes and people and financial acumen. You have to really drive at those. And the good news is those are things you can hire for.
Mhm. Yep. Now, it sounds like, yeah, again, you've referenced reading books, learning from books quite a few times. Has that been something you've always been really driven to do, is learning from books, or is that something you've learned as you've gone through?
Something I learned as I went through. I learned that I have to keep learning. I didn't read, I'm going to be 50 years old in November. I didn't really start reading until 2018, 2019, maybe 6 years ago. I really committed to starting to read and read a lot more. And it was because I needed to learn. If I was struggling, like we weren't getting where we wanted to get to, I knew I needed to figure it out. I was partnering with people that, because I felt like, oh, if I just partner with them, they'll have the missing pieces. Or if I partner with this person, they'll have the missing pieces. And that's just not true. You might need to partner with people inside your business or outside your business, but that's why I said you're enough. You are
Mhm.
capable. You just have to commit to putting the pieces together that you need to have. And that talent you can get and that education you can get from books and reading the right ones. But the most important thing about reading a book is read it, understand it, and then you, as the entrepreneur and the business owner, you have to figure out how it applies to your business and make the application. You might only take one sentence or one paragraph out of a 300-page book that you can use, and that's okay. That's the point of reading it. Others, you may be able to grab whole chapters or whole, entire like segments of the book. But the most important thing is what one thing can you take out? And sometimes it might be you just had the right thought while you were reading the book. It wasn't even the book. It was just the book put you in the right frame of mind to give you the thought that the answer came. And so I would say that is really critical and important to go about doing. Mhm.
Love that. I love that constant learning, that constant growth, that finding the thing you can take out of it.
Mhm.
Um,
I will give
I,
one little hidden secret in the
yeah,
books, and I know you're a Christian, and I got a lot closer to my faith. I grew up Catholic. I got a lot closer to my faith in business because it is so hard and it's so difficult and a challenge and test you so much. It brought me back close to my faith, which was really a gift. Not that I've strayed way away from it, but it wasn't as close as it is today. But I will tell you, for those of folks that are listening that are faithful, and you're in business, the more you can lean into the principles that God put forth to us that are in the Bible and apply them to business, it's really the same. The applications to life, the applications to business, how you're going to treat people, how you're going to engage your customer, how you're going to take care of your family and your friends, how you're going to take care of your employees and your family. All those principles are sitting right in there and they're the same. And it's that how you learn and listen to them and apply them is the real key.
and again, how you learn, how you listen, how you apply, that determines whether you're going to make a change or whether you're not.
Hmm. Yep.
So, what would you say has been, let's say you're talking to a beginner who has not done much of this. What would be your one big piece of advice for what they can do to go as far as you have?
Well, I don't know how far I've gone or how the degree that is compared to anyone else. But, if I'm 13 and a half, 14 years in business and I have about 20 plus years or more, almost 25 years just since college and working, so expanding on that experience, I would say the most important thing, if I were to give it to anyone, is you got to just start. Like if you're going to take the path and try to be an entrepreneur or take the path and try to be an intrapreneur inside of a great business, I would tell people too, like that's okay. An intrapreneur, which to me is really like someone that has the gumption, you have the optimism, you're a go-getter, you're after it. If you work with an entrepreneur in a business, that is one of the single greatest assets to any entrepreneur. And that journey can make you a lot of money. It can give you a lot of freedom in accomplishments in life. It can provide for your family. It's a huge sense of accomplishment without all the risk. Because I promise you, like the one thing I will say is just start. Like that's the best advice I give you is just start. And if you are inside somewhere and you can work next to someone and help them accomplish their goals and vision, you will be extremely valuable and probably 95 times or 95 people out of 100 that think they want to be an entrepreneur will not only satisfy you, but it'll satisfy you to a much greater degree. The entrepreneur journey is going to take a part of your soul, and it's going to take stuff that you don't even want me to talk about because you won't start. So I just tell you, like, just if you're going to be the entrepreneurial journey, just go into it with the options, with the mentality that you're not going to quit and you're not going to, you're going to learn the lessons when you fail. It's going to be really hard. When you're confronted with multiple choices, you should pick the hardest path because that's pretty much where all the juice is and what you're going to get to. And if it was easy, someone else would do it.
I love that. I love that. Pick the harder one, pick the one that'll get you the furthest.
Pick the harder path. If you're looking at two different choices, pick the harder path every time.
I love that. So it sounds like a lot of things are going really well for you. You've learned a lot of things. I know something a lot of people are trying to learn about or discover is that passive income everyone talks about to help either replace or help supplement our active income. What have been your thoughts on that? What have you done to create some passive income for yourself?
Hmm. Well, this is an interesting topic, man. So depending on where you are in your journey, everyone says, "Oh, I gotta have these multiple income streams, and that's the way to go and succeed." And you talk to your average person in the ballpark or the bar or wherever or the networking group, they'll tell you, "Yeah, man, I've got this real estate, and I'm gonna flip houses, and this is my business, and I started this company, I started that company, and now I'm gonna vertically integrate and start this one." Man, I'm just going to tell you, most of those people are all full of shit, and not one of those income streams is giving them enough money to live off of. And if you add them all up together, all of them probably aren't giving them enough money to live off of. Now, so why is that? Because yes, having multiple income streams is important. Yes, most millionaires have many different income streams, but that's not how they made their money. you got to go all in on whatever it is you're doing, your job, your income, whatever you're doing. If you're starting a business, particularly if we're talking about entrepreneurs, yeah, you might have another job. I did. I worked at Stryker Orthopedics and Angiodynamics while I started this business, and I used that income and I worked throughout the day and I took those skills and then I did this at night or I did this at every given off time. That's part of that part I tell you about. It's going to take some of your soul because you're not going to accomplish this 8 hours a day, and it's not going to be balanced. So today, yeah, I have some money and I put it in investments and other things, but I still don't have passive income. I'm all in on what I'm doing until I'm not. And that's the key. I think that's the biggest mistake people make is trying to figure out how to make passive income. If you have money, it's amazing how much money can make. Put your money away and save. I think you should also work those other jobs if you can. Work two jobs. Use one of them to pay for your lifestyle and use the other one, the one that you're actually trying to start and create. You can't take a lot of money out of those businesses. You should leave all that money in and invest, because otherwise your business can't grow. And that can save you a lot of the time. If you can just keep your money in that business and build it and build it and build it and use another income stream to live off of, that's the real secret
Love it.
if you want to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting things do you have in the works for the next, 6 to 12 months? What do you have coming down the pipeline?
So inside our business, well, personally, I'm sending my oldest daughter off to college. That's going to be exciting and fearful and scary, but really exciting for her. She's excited and ready to go. So my wife and I are really pumped about that. Although we're going to miss her terribly in the house, and we definitely don't want to see her go. Seeing the excitement in her to go and live her life as an adult as the first time in college is pretty cool. So that's going to happen here in June. But outside of that, in business, we are growing exponentially. The last 3-4 years, we have grown year over year just so much, and it's really cool to hear more and more people tell our story. More and more people know that we exist. More and more business owners finding that we can be a great solution for them. And we're really excited to continue on that journey of creating more awareness about mobilization funding, who we are, and how we can help, and doing that in a much more meaningful, scalable, impactful way is really where our next 6 to 12 months is all about, as it has been really the last 2 years.
Love it. That's awesome. So, Scott, thank you so much for your time and your tips and tricks you've shared with us today. If someone wants to connect with you more, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
Appreciate that. So, Alex, the best way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You can find me at Scott Peper, Peper, mobilizationfunding.com, and our YouTube channel, which is on YouTube, it's Mobilization Funding. We're very active on there as well. And there's all kinds of great info on both those spots, and of course on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, I encourage everyone to go and check out Scott in those different places, and we will catch everyone on the next episode.
Appreciate it, Alex. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.